1970 doesn't come in loud, it comes in steady. After everything that built through the late 60s, protests, experimentation, cultural pressure, 1970 feels like the moment where artists stop reacting and start deciding what comes next. You can hear it immediately. The songs are more structured, the production is more intentional, and the writing? It gets personal in a way it hadn't been before. This is where the 70s actually begin. Let's start with a record that didn't just dominate the charts, it reset expectations for what a serious song could be. Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. Released in January of 1970, it goes to #1 and stays there for 6 weeks. Wins 5 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year and Song of the Year. But the detail that matters most isn't the awards, it's the structure. Paul Simon wrote it, but Art Garfunkel sings the lead. And at this point, the two of them are already pulling in different directions creatively. The partnership is strained. So what you're hearing isn't just a polished performance. It's one of the last moments where everything aligns. The song itself pulls heavily from gospel. Starts with just piano and voice. No rhythm section driving it. No urgency. Then slowly builds, layer by layer, until it reaches a full, almost orchestral peak. That build wasn't accidental. It mirrors the message. Support that starts quiet and grows. And in early 1970, after years of tension in the culture, that kind of message lands exactly where it needs to. Now move just a couple of months forward, and you hear something that feels even more final. Let It Be by the Beatles, released in March of 1970. By the time people hear it, the Beatles are essentially over. The breakup becomes public just weeks later. Paul McCartney writes this after a dream about his mother, Mary, who had died when he was a teenager. So when he sings Mother Mary Comes to Me, he's not referencing religion. He's talking about memory, about comfort, and musically it's restrained. Piano at the center. Guitar comes in carefully. Everything is controlled. But here's where it gets interesting. There are multiple versions of this song, different mixes, different guitar solos, because even at the end, the band couldn't fully agree on what the final version should sound like. So what you're hearing isn't just a song, it's a compromise, and it becomes one of their final #1 hits. Now step away from that tone completely, and you land in something that feels immediate. American Woman by the Guess Who. This wasn't carefully written in a studio. It started on stage. During a live performance, the guitarist breaks a string. While replacing it, he starts playing a riff. The band locks in, and what begins as a jam session becomes the foundation of the song. That riff stays raw. It doesn't get overproduced, and that's important, because 1970 is moving away from the layered, psychedelic sound of the late 60s. This is simpler, more direct. Now the meaning of the song, that's where interpretation comes in. Some listeners hear it as a critique of American culture during the Vietnam era. Others hear it as just a rock track built on attitude. The band later downplays political intent, but timing matters. In 1970, audiences hear everything through that lens. Now there's no ambiguity in what comes next. War by Edwin Starr, released in the summer of 1970, goes straight to #1. And this is one of the most direct protest songs ever recorded. War, what is it good for? There's no metaphor, no softening, just a question and an answer. Originally, this song was recorded by the Temptations, but Motown decides it's too risky politically for one of their flagship groups. So they give it to Edwin Starr, and he leans into it. The vocal delivery is aggressive, almost shouted at points, and the production keeps things tight, focused on rhythm and impact, because the message is the centerpiece. And by 1970, audiences aren't avoiding that message, they're responding to it. Then something shifts again. The scale gets smaller. The focus gets tighter. Fire and Rain by James Taylor, released in early 1970. And this is where the singer-songwriter movement really takes hold. Because this song isn't broad, it's specific. James Taylor writes it about 3 separate experiences in his life: the suicide of a close friend, his struggles with addiction, and his time in a psychiatric hospital. Each verse reflects a different moment, and he doesn't hide behind metaphor, he names it. That kind of writing changes things. Because now the audience isn't just listening to a song, they're listening to someone process real events. And that becomes a defining trait of 70s music. Now take that personal tone and shift it into something completely different sonically. Black Magic Woman by Santana, released in 1970, originally recorded by Fleetwood Mac. But Santana's version is the one that becomes definitive, and the difference is in the arrangement. Santana slows it down, builds it around groove, adds Latin percussion, gives it space. Instead of pushing forward, the song moves in cycles. That approach matters, because this is where rock starts absorbing more global influence. Not just blues, not just folk, but rhythm patterns and instrumentation that expand the sound. And audiences respond to that. Now everything tightens again, but in a much heavier direction. Paranoid by Black Sabbath, released in 1970, short, direct, under 3 minutes, and built around a guitar riff that was reportedly written very quickly, almost as filler for the album. But that riff defines the sound, distorted, repetitive, driving, and lyrically, like it's dealing with something that hadn't been front and center before. Mental strain, isolation, disconnection. This is early heavy metal forming in real time, and it's not subtle. Then almost as a reset, something bright comes in. A BC by the Jackson 5, also released in 1970, and it goes to #1. Michael Jackson is 11 years old, and Motown is doing something very deliberate here. They're building a new kind of act, youth-driven, high energy, extremely polished. The production is tight, hooks come fast. The structure is built for repeat listening, because even as music gets heavier and more introspective, there's still a place for precision pop. Now we circle back to the Beatles, but this time with tension built into the sound. The Long and Winding Road, released in May 1970. Paul McCartney writes it as a simple piano ballad, but producer Phil Spector adds orchestration, strings, choir, full arrangement. McCartney doesn't like it at all. He publicly criticizes the production, but the version gets released anyway, and it becomes their final #1 single. So what you're hearing is two competing visions, minimalism versus full production, and that conflict is baked into the track itself. And then there's one more shift happening, quietly but importantly. Signed, sealed, delivered, I'm Yours, by Stevie Wonder, released in 1970. And this is where Stevie Wonder starts moving from performer to creator. He co-writes, co-produces, takes more control over the sound, and you can hear it. The groove is tighter. The vocal delivery is more dynamic. The arrangement isn't locked into the traditional Motown formula anymore. This is the beginning of a transition that will define his entire career moving forward. By the time you step back and look at 1970 as a whole, the pattern becomes clear. The chaos of the late 60s doesn't disappear, but it changes form. Instead of reacting outwardly, artists turn inward. They get more precise, more intentional, more controlled. Bands start to break apart. Individual voices start to rise. Genres start to separate instead of blend. And what you're left with is a foundation. Everything that defines the 1970s, the songwriting, the production, the identity of artists, starts right here. 1970 doesn't shout, but it sets the direction. And once it does, everything that follows builds from it.